ready.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Survival Series. And today we're working on looking for a job in a pandemic time. And joining me today is Barbara Upton, and she's founder of P Squared Consulting. And the two P's that are squared are personal plus professional development, which to Upton equals solution to career success. Barb has more than 20 years of human resources experience and expertise and puts that to work helping clients with her full career counseling business that offers a boutique of professional development services with the job seeker and career-oriented professional in mind. And welcome, Barb.
Thank you, Bonita. Thank you for
Oh,
having me. I appreciate it.
well, we know we have the highest unemployment rate, they've said, since the Great Depression. And we know people are wondering, what will I do? Some of these jobs may come back, some of the jobs won't come back, and some of the jobs people don't want to come back. They
Right.
prefer to have something new and different. And so we're going to talk about that, in this time. Maybe you're sitting at home and maybe you're working from home where you can do a little job hunting. Is this the time to be doing that? So let's start by talking about, I've been laid off. Is there anywhere to look for a job?
Well, that's a very good question, and I consider that a loaded question. As you mentioned in my introduction, I purposely named my business P Squared. One, because I just don't look at when I work with my clients, I don't just consider their professional goals. I also encourage them to really do some personal reflecting and to look inward. So when I'm asked that question, where do I look for a job? First, I encourage them to look inward, to understand who they are personally. And then that helps me to assess their passion and help them to identify their purpose. And then I take their passion and purpose to then use that to begin doing the work to get them down their career path. So I take a more holistic approach to that. And so, especially doing now, as you mentioned, we're all sitting home and we're doing hopefully some personal reflection to the new reality that we may be up against as a result of the pandemic. So once we identify, or once I understand who my clients are, then we begin the search of where to go and identify those opportunities that may be suited to their personal interests and goals. So once some of those opportunities would consist of, especially now, I would recommend looking at where the essential services industries are. So that would include healthcare, that would include public safety, some of the service industries. That's where the bulk of the opportunities are, because that's where the greater needs are right now in these type of turbulent times that we're experiencing with the pandemic. And so your grocers are hiring. People are now, instead of going shopping, they're shopping online. So Amazon.com, they're hiring. I also saw Coca-Cola. They're becoming more vigilant in looking for people to fill those opportunities, and they're using Facebook more to advertise those. So look on Facebook, go to job boards. Job boards are essentially a great and probably efficient way to look for jobs. So in doing so, I encourage my clients to take it a step further, not just go and look for jobs on job boards, but set up job alerts. Job alerts will help individuals in knowing when new opportunities are posted, so that they're not constantly sitting at their computers waiting for, daily. They can actually set up alerts to target jobs that are specific to their career interests. And those, when they get an alert, that's sent through the email, and then they can know when to apply. I also encourage my clients to actually load their resumes or add them to the job board resume database. A lot of employers are set up where they have relationships, or the accounts, I should say, with these job boards where they have access to the entire resume database. So not only are you seeking, but employers are seeking candidates for consideration. So that's another opportunity. Also, I recently personally received a text message from the military trying to recruit me. Now, obviously, they didn't know my age, so they didn't realize I was ineligible, but military is also an opportunity. So, and temp agencies or placement agencies for direct hires. So those are just some more of your conventional ways or approaches or methods. But I also encourage individuals to use this opportunity to examine some of those non-conventional things that they normally wouldn't think about. For example, that's a great example of something non-conventional that's now booming. Now, Uber may not be as profitable now, but it's an example of a non-conventional uh, business. So there's a lot of people out there with some dreams on starting their business. Perhaps now is that time. So use this time to plan and move forward with those business ideas.
Barb, you say age is different. I mean, when we look for a job, maybe, I don't know if it was harder or it was easier because you didn't have so many people knowing about the job and you had this chance to sneak in through these connections. And now everything you just said is on a job board where thousands now, the 10 or 12% of people who are unemployed are out there competing also for these same jobs. So
Correct.
now, where can I mean, I used to think that way of that personal contact or personal no. Some suggestions for how to maybe get around being one of the 10% of the nation out there looking for this job that I want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point because right now with the unemployment at its peak right now, I think there's 1 in every 5 jobs that are now, or people that are unemployed, which is a very high number. We haven't seen numbers like this probably in our time. And so that just more emphasizes the importance of proper planning and preparation. And so I suggest hiring a professional to help them with their resume because the competition is high. Hire someone, and that's what I offer as a service to my clients. I assist them with customizing their resumes, making it more targeted to the types of jobs that they are more likely to get hired for. Or if there's an opportunity here to maybe even change industries. Those jobs, like you said, may not even exist following the pandemic anymore. So what does that mean? Looking at transferable skills. And then I look at where they're wanting to actually apply for a job. And then I customize their resume to highlight those skills that maybe perhaps wouldn't be noticeable on the resume unless they customize it to actually know how to market. So understanding how to market. But one thing you mentioned that I strongly always emphasize is the importance of utilizing your network. So that will always exist. So take advantage of that. You always utilize your network, get connected, understand who's hiring, get out there. I think one of the most valuable resources we have during this pandemic is our time and the internet. Take advantage of those resources as well, and then stay connected with the people that you know. Oftentimes, that's how people are hired. So, because of who they know, not necessarily what they know. So, I always encourage that. And another challenge with the pandemic right now is most companies now are not working inside their facilities or their organizations. They're working remotely. So that's a challenge that a lot of employers are facing now. It's a new reality. And so they have to figure out not only how to properly onboard new hires, but also how do you train them? And so Zoom is becoming, as you can see, the resource that we're using for our interview, Zoom is becoming, or those type of vehicles or tools are becoming the way of how we're doing business, at least during the pandemic.
What I'm hearing though is, yes, all that online stuff is good and get your name out there and get it. But if you really are serious, get busy and work your connections. I mean,
exactly.
Use that computer for more than just looking on job boards. Look to know the people within an organization and understand maybe, I'm not a big LinkedIn person, probably because I haven't been looking for a job for 20 something years, but it seems like maybe who that knows somebody with
Right.
a really smart way to see if I can 6 degrees of separation or whatever that is, how I can get back to getting to somebody. Because it seems like right now it's going to take a lot of creativity. Plus what you're saying there, getting my resume right and positioned for what's out there to highlight my best. But definitely creativity.
Definitely. And also recognizing that just a great looking resume doesn't get you the job. So you really, what I've learned, and what this is actually what prompted me to start my services, my consulting services, is that I would see great resumes. People come to the table, and I would interview them. However, they didn't know how to best market themselves, and so again, hiring a coach, which is another service that I offer through my business, and actually coaching individuals on how to prepare for that interview. And so it really is uh, not only marketing yourself and getting to the table, but how well are you able to sell yourself once you get to the table? That's what lands you the job as well.
Okay. So the group that I worry a lot about are college students
Mhm. Yeah.
who are getting ready to graduate.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering, what are they going to do? Any thoughts or suggestions for a college student who's just coming out of field? Are they a total loss for a job, or and just give up, or what do you say?
Well, it's interesting. From a study that was performed by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York just last year, what they found that only 27% of college graduates work in a field that's related to their major. So that's the reality. And that was actually the reality before the pandemic. So what I always encourage new grads coming out of college, especially now, don't narrow your options. Certainly expand those options. Uh, they're more savvy with how to use social media to as for opportunities to network, utilize the resources of the university for career placement, go into fields that they may not have thought of, but are similar, that where they can use those transferable skills, highlight those transferable skills on your resume, and get in the door, and then just begin to navigate and build your career that way.
I guess I would say, but I spent 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, some of them, getting this degree because this is what I want to do. And I'm
Right.
so concerned that if I go over here, I'll never get back there. So some tips, I mean, for maybe how about volunteering? I'm just thinking of things. Volunteering in your field if you can't get your field now.
Most definitely. I encourage that. I also encourage job shadowing. I also encourage doing some networking with individuals who are already where you would like to get to in terms of your career path. Establishing those relationships. Again, I cannot undervalue the importance of um, networking and getting, so again, opportunities to get in the field. And you may not, also you may have to uh, start from at a lower level position just to get in the door, and then build your experience along, which adds to your education, your formal education, and use both of those to actually get to, because oftentimes I think the perception is I'm graduating, I have my degree, now I'm going to go land that six-figure job. That's not that's not the reality. Oftentimes you have to build your career. So it takes patience. And then also, how many of us have actually changed careers? How many times have we changed careers in our whole, I think I'm probably one of the few. I actually now have gained probably close to 30 years of experience in the human resources field. But here's another thing that I do in understanding my passion and understanding my interests. I have interests outside of HR. So, for example, I do life coaching. I use some of my counseling skills that I've gained as an HR professional to counsel people in other areas of their life. I also am authoring my first children's book. Again, because that I'm taking some of my creative skills and knowledge. One other opportunity or thing that I would like to suggest is taking a career interest profile. Sometimes we majored in degrees because mom or dad encouraged us to go in that direction, but it doesn't necessarily align with who we are and what we're passionate about. And so I have a interest profiler that I use with my clients. And that's part of helping them to even understand who they are personally. What is it that they're passionate about? Identifying their purpose. And that is so important to actually finding a fulfilling career. So I encourage anyone to utilize those tools to help them identify what they're passionate about, what is it that they enjoy, because as you and I know, as seasoned professionals, there's nothing worse than landing in a career that is not enjoyable.
No, you got to
And
get
it
up and
feels like
enjoy it
work.
every day. You need to get up and enjoy it. You're going to be doing it too long not to enjoy it. You know,
Exactly.
but a couple of things I heard in there. One, I was just thinking, if I'm not quite in my field, there's probably a lot of professional organizations. Like if I want to be an accountant, or if I want to be a banker, but all I can get is a teller's job, maybe associate with the bankers, professionals. Or if I wanted there, I know there's SHRM, isn't that the human
Yes,
resources organization?
exactly.
So associate and join, even if you're not in there, join. That's a good networking, those professional organizations that you have. But the other is, yes, exploring other things that are your passion. Maybe if you can't make that money starting out, you talked about gigs and some of these other things. I know it may be more than 40 hours, but
Right.
if that's a way on the
Mhm.
side to develop some skills also that might help you get back over. Just amazing. I've heard a lot of people whose part-time jobs become full-time jobs and on to higher grossing positions from just starting off at something part-time. So yeah, if you can't get in there the way you want with that big job, don't be afraid to take that little part-time job just to get yourself in the door. So, and then
Exactly.
now that might be the choice, since we just don't know what's going to happen with
Right,
this.
exactly, exactly. But they say the rule is also always have 7 streams of income. Now that seems like a lot,
Mm.
but if you think about it, I would always encourage anyone, from my financial standpoint, to at least have more than one. Always have more than one stream of income coming in, and whatever you do what makes you passionate. Whatever you're passionate about, so it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, every day of the week. Have you heard any thing about, I know this may be getting beyond you, about getting unemployment? It just seems like that
Oh,
is just, no, no secrets, no pointers to share. I guess neither of us are unemployed at this time, but I'm just wondering, if it just seems like that's such a mess. And others
right.
telling people to hold on, hold on, hold on. Any, no pointers? No.
Yes, I actually do. With unemployment, of course, like you say, with unemployment rates being at its peak right now, certainly you have a lot of people who are applying, but they, of course, what's been in the news is that they've set aside additional funding to support those that are unemployed right now. And as I mentioned earlier, they're predicting that by summer that number is going to really peak even higher. So anyone who has been either furloughed or laid off, I encourage them to begin immediately applying for unemployment. Also, do it through online resources. So you can actually go to the website of your local unemployment office and actually apply. And so I encourage people to do that. I just recently read something that about 3.3 million people have actually filed unemployment claims. And so that's a lot. But here's some of the things that Congress has just enacted. They enacted what's called the CARES Act. And because normally it takes about 2 weeks, there's a 2 week waiting time before you actually receive your funds. That's why I encourage individuals to apply immediately as soon as they become eligible. But they are looking at shortening that waiting period to 1 week to try and get individuals their funding or their resources, financial resources to them sooner. But definitely it's unfortunate times right now. But again, emphasizing using this time to reflect and identify other streams of income or ways of positioning yourself so you're not so vulnerable.
And using this time right to maybe pivot. If you didn't like where you were,
Oh, definitely.
maybe look, now's the time to pivot. You're sitting at home. That's the new
Right.
term I hear everybody's talking about, is pivot.
Mhm.
We're all pivoting. This is the time. If you might not want to leave a job if it's a really strong job, but if you think your job is not going to be something that's going to come back, if it's something you didn't like, maybe use this opportunity, use this time to pivot. Where else can I go? All of these things you're talking about. Maybe take some surveys, find out what my passion is. Take my resume and work with a consultant and see how I can rewrite it to match up more with what I really want to do. Go online, just study what's out there. What is it? What are career? Who's hiring in the future for what? And where might I fit in? So take this as definitely a pivot time. I know we say it constantly, and you keep hearing it, that don't come out of this without being improved in some way. You've got the time, come back on the other side, improved in some way. And I know we're doing that with our organization, but we're maximizing this time to see how we can come out on the other side. So if you don't understand what the other side needs to be, take some time now, do some studying and work it to understand where it is you want to do. Because wow, with all this stay-at-home time and
access to the internet, where a lot of the resources, I mean, you don't even have to, when we were growing up, we had to go to the library or consult with a professional in that field. I mean, we didn't have the internet accessible to our fingertips to explore all those opportunities. And they always say the best time to look for a job is while you're in a job.
Wow. Okay. With those who are in a job and who are unhappy and really are so happy that you're home because you don't have to go to that job every day, you're the ones that need to be working on pivoting. So, and this is the time. But my thought is, if I have a good job, but I'm just a little unhappy, and things are a little shaky now, and should you think you should stay, maybe stay. Maybe it's just a time to maybe 6 months, a year stay. If I'm just unhappy, I got a family support, maybe bear it a little bit longer. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a very good question. What I always do, I'm a person that believes in just jumping. And what I mean by that doesn't mean jumping without a parachute, but jumping and pushing get outside the box, get outside that comfort. Life is too short. That's my philosophy. Life is too short. And so use this opportunity to explore other opportunities, to actually apply for jobs and see what happens. You never know what's on the other side until you go to the window. And so that's my thought. And guess what? If it's not fitting for you or you don't feel comfortable, guess what? The power of no. No, I'm not interested at this time, or just declining an offer if you do get an offer. But definitely explore and push your limits now while you can.
Okay. Well, Barb, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. My guest today has been Barb Gupton, founder of P Squared Consulting, and the 2 P's that are squared are personal plus professional development. And you want to give a plug out for a website if they want to go check you out, Barb?
Most definitely. So, and for those that are viewing, I am offering a 10% discount on my services. They're already affordable, but I certainly want to offer or extend my services and be of greater support during this difficult time. And the website where you can locate information about my services is www.p as in Paul, TWO for 2, so p2consulting.com. And I hope to hear from you.
Sounds great. Thank you, Barb. And anybody has any help, I hear she's wonderful. I haven't been looking for a job, but those who I know who recommend her say she's fabulous and that she will help you for sure with a great holistic approach, not just here, there, but whole pulling things together to make it work for you. So thanks, Barb. And thanks everyone for joining us. If you haven't been checking out our survival series, they're on our website at www.communityvoiceks.com. Check them out. We're putting up about 1 a week. We've had some great ones on finances. We did one on some legal issues. And we actually had an interview with a lady who had just gotten out of the hospital with from 2 weeks of coronavirus, and she has some wise advice for a lot of us that's worth looking at. So check out the series on our website, www.communityvoiceks.com. Continue to pick up your community voice and read it. If you can't find one now because you're at home, where you can read it online, again, at communityvoiceks.com. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on another edition of Survival Series. Thanks.